Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast, and this time we are going to have a 2v2 as you can see on... I know this map. The problem is I don't know the name of it. What's the name of this map? It's Stadtschutt. Anyway, it's going to be it's the same map that Puffo sent me a replay on. Right. Yeah, it was sent in by Kvass, who's playing as Soviets. I like Kvass. It's a good beverage. Riley, as the Soviets, is going to be his ally, and they're going to be up against one Wehrmacht and one OKW, Kirby T610, and Casecott 2084. Yeah, it looks like there's a bit of confusion in the German camp right now. Not really quite sure what's happening. Anyway, as you can see, it is one Wehrmacht, one OKW versus two Soviets on this relatively open-ended map. Few buildings all over, but most of the actual cover on this map is just heavy cover. And of course, the field points are very heavily exposed on the extreme flanks, so there's going to be a lot of movement in this game, hopefully, and that should be doing quite well. People are just exchanging weird greetings, but we'll not let ourselves get distracted by that. So it looks like both of the Soviets going tier 2 and bringing out some Maxim machine guns. Probably a decent idea, considering they want to hold those VPs right at the start, apparently. And to do that, they need a Maxim or two. Nice flank coming in on this MG42. The MG42 first engagement gonna be forced to kind of edge away a little bit and, you know, turn around, fire at those engineers. It captures the point, so it's not like its objective wasn't seized. Right now, yeah, on the left-hand side, there's really nothing happening, but the MG turning, of course, allows the conscripts to come in from the other side and flank it up. Very well done. He's going to get into some heavy cover, and the cube wagon that's moving in, I'm not sure what it is doing, but it's in a very bad position. Tries to drive by across and eats a nice bit of damage in return. Conscripts taking up nice positions behind this, you know, blockade little earth fortification, but yeah, they're gonna be able to probably force away these Volksgrenadiers. In the meantime, in the north, we have a engagement between the Stern Pioneers and the Combat Engineers. Of course, the Stern Pioneers at medium close range, just a lot more firepower than those Combat Engineers, so they're gonna easily win that. And in fact, the Combat Engineers might even go down, and they do. That's pretty bad for the Soviets already. But yes, in the center, the Maxims are allowing the Soviets a decent advantage. The Combat Engineers looks like took the most of the damage. They were really tanking over there in the front, the fire of those German troops. So basically, the Kar-98s were wasting their ammo against the Engineers, which allowed the other units to easily get a lot of damage done on them. Nice flank from this conscript squad. Looks like the cube wagon went down from another conscript. Notice that Kvass has already upgraded his anti-tank grenades. That's probably because he was kind of trying to destroy that cube wagon. Although, I mean, he didn't need it in the end, but still, pretty decent idea. Looks like the Grenadier squads are also taking a lot of damage. This one might go down. It is running in the part as in actually in negative cover, so he might actually be able to escape. Well done for him. And MG42 once again being flanked by Kvass's conscripts, and it's going to get forced away. So if you can check out the tactical map, as you can see, the Soviets have a nice sort of advantage up in the center, whereas the Germans have a little bit of a holding in the left-hand side, but I'm not sure what they're trying to do with these sandbags. It's not like they're going to really do too much. If this MG just gets flanked, which looks like is what is about to happen, the conscripts are moving through, although they're moving in the very unfortunate forward direction of this machine gun. And not even trying to flank, which is a little bit of a issue. Not really quite sure if Riley knew what was going on here. Yeah, the MG does get the suppression off on one squad. Come on, you need to kill this squad and suppress, well, not kill, but suppress this squad before he gets around you. But he didn't switch his targets quickly enough, and so now the conscripts can get behind the machine gun and probably destroy it. Yeah, it looks like Kvass is sending in some help. However, the conscripts decide to shoot at the Pioneers who are building this bunker for some reason, instead of attacking the MG42 heavy machine gun team. Looks like the Maxim is getting flanked, however, by these Volksgrenadiers, so this will, yeah, definitely not be a good thing. It's a negative cover, so it goes down instantly, and the conscript infantry squad is taking a lot of damage from the machine gun crew with their MP40s, and then they wander off into the range of the MG42 and they go down. So that's 2 squads down for Riley. He's in a very bad shape at this point. However, Kvas has been taking advantage of this and pushing up his forces, getting these troops nicely clumped up and suppressed with the Maxim. In the meantime, the other Maxim that's being stolen by the Volksgrenadiers is now running away and across. Machine gun crew over here killed, so these conscripts might even try to steal an MG42 for themselves. And the fuel cache over here is under fire already from the Maxim. Now, the Maxim doesn't really do all that much damage against the fuel cache, so unfortunately that is not going to be all that effective, and it's also going to reveal the position of the Maxim, allowing these Volksgrenadiers to get behind them quite easily, but they get flanked themselves by these Guards riflemen who have the DP-28s, so they do quite a bit of damage. They massacre these Volksgrenadiers out in the open of the road. Grenade does come in and will probably explode in a blaze of fire, but this Volksgrenadier is in a very, very precarious position. He's going to retreat for the arc of fire of the Maxim. Let's see if they can get one burst off to kill him. Nope, he has managed to escape very, very narrowly. Well done, I guess, by the Allies with this push, but the Germans, well, it's not like they've taken that much damage except losing 1 machine gun squad, and the fuel cache is slowly but surely being wiggled into submission by the Maxim. The problem is there's a sniper on the field, so K-Scott's going to be able to counter that from range. Conscripts getting rifle grenaded by these Grenadiers is going to basically destroy any chances of that machine gun being captured, and the Guards riflemen should have moved up earlier with these PTRSs, because these can actually do some damage, as you can see, to the fuel cache. Although, ooh, dangerous. Lux is on the field. Of course, tier 3 is up for Kvas. No tier 3 for Riley, so he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable to that Lux. But I wonder if Kvas is aware of the danger. The fuel cache does go down, so that's 250 manpower down the drain. But 2 Guards Rifleman squads with the Lux on, in their sights should be pretty okay for the Allies. The problem is the Lux can be where the Guards cannot. So if, for example, right now the Lux were to try to flank around and get some harassment done onto the rear lines of the Allies, it's not like these Guards can really chase it down. Their legs aren't exactly as strong as the engine of this thing. And yeah, they're going to try to move up, but this is a bad idea. They're moving up for negative cover, of course, under the fire from a sniper and 2 Volksgrenadier squads and the Lux. They're going to take a massive amount of damage, and they're going to try to throw some grenades, but they're throwing them through cover, so it's not like they're going to be all that effective. And they take massive casualties for absolutely no gain. This is pretty bad for the Allies. Right now, they're trying to move up with the Lux, which is probably a good idea, but they need to be careful, and by they I mean the Germans, because what if the Allies have an AT gun hidden up here? The Germans know that the Allies both have tier 2s, so it's not like these Allied players really don't have any ways of getting out AT guns, right? So if it had been 2 tier 1s, being very aggressive with the Lux would make more sense, but considering the tier 2 choice, yeah, the Lux needs to be careful. In the meantime, the left-hand side is still kind of quiet, all quiet on the Western Front, and in the center we still have suicidal assaults by the Soviet players, especially Riley. He's sending in his infantry very, very hard, and he's getting punished by this. Look at that. He's got 110 manpower. He cannot reinforce all of his Guards riflemen with the manpower he has, and he's basically going to struggle to even reinforce these guys that are retreating, and he's got 200 fuel in the bank. So it's not like he doesn't have anything else to do with his manpower. He would definitely like to have enough manpower to build a new engineer squad and then get up his tier 4 most likely, because he has enough fuel to go for the tier 4 at this point, and I'm sure he would very, very much like a tier 3476 on the field right about now. But he does not have the manpower required to actually use that fuel. So you need to be very careful whenever you're building up your infantry. And why did Kvas not finish this fuel cache? I have no idea. Anyway, Kvas goes for an SU-76, probably a decent decision. Although I would have coupled it with an anti-tank gun, the 57mm, just to be sure. Of course, Kvas doesn't exactly have all that much manpower, but actually no, he now does have He had less manpower earlier. Oh, he's probably canceled the fuel cache, did he? Yep, he did. Not sure why he didn't just finish it. I mean, you have some combat engineers over here. Anyway, looks like he's picked the reserve army. Lovely reserve army. Partisan tank hunters. Although, I mean, there's not really that many buildings around this map where you can use the partisan tank hunters. There's this one. There's... Yeah, most of these are ruined. These ones are never going to be sort of used in any combat. This one is nice. This one's also nice. So it looks like... T-26 Corps. I think that's a T-26. Yeah, that's a T-26. Wow. Oh, actually, getting into close range with the Papa Shot conscripts. A lot of damage off on the sniper. But yeah, of course, reserve army does get you those partisan tank hunters, but also the Papa Shots for the conscripts, the conscript repair kit, so that you can get your vehicles back into shape a little bit earlier. The lovely rapid conscription. And of course, the howitzer. So that might also be why he's saving up some manpower to get that howitzer later. 600 and I believe 50 manpower now. It used to be 600 manpower, but I think it's 650 now. Still, a decent amount of manpower, but very, very useful, especially against OKW players. Speaking of OKW players, looks like the Germans are getting a little bit pushed back by the Soviet troop movements in the center. Looks like we have a bit of an engagement between the Su-76M and the Lukes. Lukes, of course, comes off worse for wear, and he's gonna go down to the rifle grenade, not rifle grenade, the anti-tank grenade of these conscripts. Well done. Getting around with the other, yeah, remember those three guys? They were over here. They get around and force away the machine gun. So at this point, what are these two guys doing? Hello? There's a fight over here. Come and help. Yeah, just speeding up a little bit because there wasn't anything too strange going on. And these two Volksgrenadier squads are now gonna do okay against these conscripts. But, I mean, they're kind of surrounded. So at some point they're gonna have to retreat. Just like these conscripts. Still, kind of well done by the Allies pushing up their front line. They're now putting up some defensive positions. I'm not sure why these Germans are being so passive back at base, why they're not pushing out their infantry. It's costing them very, very heavily in terms of map control, although they still have both fuel points capped. One of them is now cut off from supplies, and the mortar, very, very smartly, is going to go ahead and capture the fuel point. Always remember that you can cap your weapon teams. That is not something that you could do in Company of Heroes 1, but it is something that you can do in Company of Heroes 2. These guards are in a very precarious position for rifle grenades, and as you can see, the rifle grenades are going to part ways from their rifles. However, nicely dodged by Riley. We have a P4, however. He went for the tier 3, and the P4 is, in my opinion, a pretty good decision right about now. It's going to get slightly countered by the Su-76. Oh god, why? Looks like some partisan tank hunters were spawned to take care of this VP. I'm not sure where from, probably this building. But yeah, once again, the Terminator MP40 crews from this MG42 machine gun doing quite okay. However, the partisans are winning. The partisans are slowly but surely winning, and they're going to force the MG42 away. Well done. Anyway, Su-76 in the center is basically the only thing that can deal with the Panzer IV right about now, but the Panzer IV is still sitting back at base, for some reason not moving up and contributing to the fight, which is kind of weird. And right now, rapid conscription is going to be popped by Kvas, who was anticipating a big fight. He's got a couple of extra conscript squads, just fresh off the Soviet manpower factories. And looks like he's going to lose one conscript squad. That was actually the veteran one, so this is pretty bad. Just because you have rapid conscription doesn't mean you should lose squads. In fact, you shouldn't lose squads at all. And he's now going to get his 2 conscripts. At this point, however, his rapid conscription, of course, can't really produce any more bodies for the Soviet war effort. Only 2 squads are available from that. Su-76... capitalizing on a nice anti-tank grenade on this Panzer IV is going to try to flank around an Su-76. Flanking a Panzer IV is something very, very weird to see. I'm pretty sure this is a bad idea for the Su-76. It is, in fact, a terrible idea, as the Schwer Panzer Headquarters rips into the side armor of that very lightly skinned vehicle, and the Panzer IV is able to finish it off. Even if there hadn't been this Schwer Panzer Headquarters, it might have been a bad idea to move in anyway, because this thing is going to die in like about 5 or 6 shots from the Su-76. Whereas the Su-76 is basically only going to take 3 or 4 shots from the Panzer IV because of the difference in HP. So even though the Panzer IV was damaged, sending in that Su-76 into close range was probably a mistake, considering in that amount of time, the Panzer IV could have definitely destroyed the Su-76. Nicely done, however, with these guards riflemen. Are going to come ahead and around to try to capitalize on the successes. The sniper gets sniped by a PTRS, which is hilarious, and it's something that almost never happens these days. And the Panzer IV is now going to be forced away by the, plink of the AT rifles. Of course, these guys do have the DP-28, so they can use the button vehicle. However, the button vehicle, being the bitch that it is, usually is going to let go and let the Panzer IV escape. Very, very close to death. The guards are trying to push ahead around the flank of these trees, but they encounter the Schwer Panzer headquarters and a lot of Volksgrenadiers, so they're probably going to get wiped, all of them. And this is just very, very bad. There's also 2 Obersoldaten that are flanking around for Kirby T. So this is definitely going to be a massacre. Even the other guard squads might go down. This one is definitely not dead. And this one does go down. And this one does go down. So that's 600 and... no, that's actually 720 manpower just lost by Rally. A massive, massive loss. Especially considering that he's the one that had the problems with the manpower. At this point, however, he does have a tier 4 with the Mechanized Armor Compagnia. Mechanized Armor Compagnia also going down for Kvass, being constructed as we speak. And Kvass is in a little bit of a better manpower situation. Of course, considering the rapid conscription, he can essentially turn his munitions into manpower. So that's pretty much the explanation as to why that is happening. And, of course, he's got the ML-20 up and coming later, which could be very devastating with all these clumped German structures. A new sniper gets built by K. Scott, and K. Scott is also going for a Stug, which is an interesting choice. I think that it's also a bad choice. Considering what the Allies were doing, it was pretty clear that either they're waiting for something big, or they were just in the midst of tacking up, because just one Su-76, no Su-76 spam, and especially no T-70s in a 2v2. It looks kind of suspicious now, does it? So going for a Stug really isn't going to cut it if the enemy comes out with something like T-34-85s, right? Of course, we do have an Su-85 in the area for Riley, and I wonder what Kvass is intending to do with his Mechanized Armor Compagnia. I would go for a Katyusha. Although he's going for a T-34-76. At 18 minutes, this might be a little bit too late, but it can also be very, very effective at dealing with the flanks. Of course, with the Veteran C1, it gets the secure mode. It can do essentially the job of an infantry squad, harassing. Then it can be very, very effective at dealing with just the random MG that people sometimes put up to defend their VPs in long games. And of course, because it's not an infantry squad, so it doesn't take suppression, the T-34 is the perfect way to counter that. It's cheap, does well, why not? However, at this point, again, the problem with the T-34-76 is that it's going to be relatively inadequate to deal with some of the more high-tier German threats. However, yeah, it looks like the high-tier German threats right now are getting roasted by some flamethrowers and gunned down by DP-28s. Looks like the Panzer IV is trying a nice flank, but it's going to get essentially running straight into the sights of this Su-85 who was waiting for it. And the T-34-76 is going to be launched, chasing after it, along with a few conscripts units. We have rapid conscription on cooldown, but some... actually, the anti-tank grenade was not thrown by the conscripts, who are in danger of going down, but they do not, and the Panzer IV goes down to the concentrated fire of the Su-85 and the T-34. T-34, which, surprise, surprise, finds the Stug in the rear, along with the help of these partisans, and might be able to destroy it, although the T-34 does not get behind the Stug, which is a bit of a mistake. The partisans go down. T-34 tries to move up and sort of fight the Stug mano a mano, 1v1, but it does not work out. And the wreck is going to be a testimony to that failure for all time. Also, nice help from the Stern Pioneers getting the killing blow on the T-34-76. So a nice layered defense for the Germans. A second T-34 tries to come in and finish off the Stug, I'm guessing, but it's not decisive enough. The T-34s, whenever you're charging in, you need to absolutely either fully commit or not attack at all. Because if you're moving in close to the enemy, you're exposing yourself to danger from enemy AT weapons, and you're not really doing all that much yourself because the T-34-76's accuracy is fairly low, its firepower is pretty bad. So if you're moving in at like halfway, you're not really doing much. What you want to do is you want to move in close and use the T-34's mobility and speed to confuse the heck out of the enemy, getting in behind them where the T-34s cannot possibly miss or not penetrate, and do your damage that way, especially when you're trying to finish off an enemy vehicle. That T-34 needed to either have charged in just absolutely uncaringly and knowing that it's going to go down, but at least it's going to take something with it, or not moved into the enemy's line of sight at all. Decisiveness in the Soviet pushes are very, very important in the late game. Right now, the Panther, of course, punished the T-34-76 for its mistakes. The Su-85 actually is a pretty good counter to the Panzer IV, but it's going to struggle if the Panther can get behind it. Of course, these Obersoldaten are going to do quite well against the conscripts, so the Allies right now are in a bit of a problematic situation. They're really losing hard, and this should not have even been attempted by those guys. Although, nicely using the focus sight on the Su-85 does destroy the Stug, so Case got definitely too wasteful with his armor. At this point, the Panther is in a bit of a pickle because it's the only German tank left. And, well, Kirby T, by going for this normal Panther, because, yeah, you say forgo, right? I'm gonna forgo something for something else. So if it was in the past, do you go past tense and say forwent? Or do you still say he forgoed? I think it's he forgoed. Fucking English language. So retarded. Anyway, he forgoed. That still sounds weird now, does it? Anyway, English confusing grammar aside, he decided to not go for the Command Panther. And the Command Panther is a very strong unit. Part of the reason why he picked that special operations. Of course, the other part would be those massive Obersoldaten. Right now, there's the Sviera boy on the field. So Riley, with his ISU-152, very dangerous. And that's going to get supported, actually, by the Su-85. One interesting tactic that Riley could use is using the ISU-152 in the front to kind of soak up the damage with its excellent armor and deal with enemy infantry with the HE rounds, like that. And then support it by preventing enemy flanks, stationing an Su-85 just kind of slightly hidden to the rear, so that if any enemy tanks try to come in around it, they're going to essentially enter the line of sight of the Su-85, and the Su-85 can snipe them constantly while they try to get behind the ISU-152. So this is pretty good. The problem for the Allies is that they're being very defensive with their infantry units, as you can see, or sometimes they're being too aggressive and then they have to be defensive because they've lost too much. So at this point, while they basically could, you know, use their armor superiority to deal with this entire right flank of the map, getting the center VP, this munitions point, and this strategic point on the fuel point as well, instead of doing that, they're letting the Germans have control over this whole right sort of crescent, which is, of course, allowing the Germans to continue having a resource advantage over them, and that's, of course, not something that you want. German infantry, no, joint operations. German infantry is the one with, hold on. What is the difference between German infantry and this one? German infantry does not have the Pak 43, and it's got something else. It's got fragmentation bombing. God, these German doctrines are weird. Anyway, light artillery barrage gonna slightly peck those conscripts, but at least it forces them to retreat. MG-34 is gonna get stolen by these conscripts. Interestingly enough, this MG still hasn't been retaken, which is a bit of a mistake. This MG hasn't been retaken, which is another big mistake, because what if those two Maxims were around? Maybe you wouldn't need to station, what is this, like 250 manpower, right? No, that's 240. So you wouldn't need to station 160 plus 800 equals 960 manpower worth of units into this VP to defend it. You just need to station a, well, technically 240 manpower MG, but if you have stolen the MG, then that's just the cost of reinforcing free grenadiers, you know, free grenadier models. So that would be like what, 90 manpower? I think they're 30 manpower to reinforce grenadiers are. Not sure. Anyway, so you can see the difference in terms of resource effectiveness and efficiency. When essentially 1/10 of the resources can accomplish the same task, why not do that? ISU-152, however, being a very, very, very dangerous beast to deal with, even, you know, whether you throw 900 manpower or 90 manpower at this thing, it's gonna do quite well. What you need to do is flank it, surprise it, and just in general confuse the heck out of it. It's a big, dumb, slow motherfucker. So if you can get in any way where it's not basically your units are not here, if they're in any other area, that thing is going to be confused. And once again, it's in this axis of you know, line of sight, and so it's going to get blasted. Rip. Anyway, 3 Obersoldaten in the center, recapturing the MG34, or rather re-clearing it. But I'm not sure that they're going to be able to really do too much about it, because there's the T-34-76. Once again, the usefulness of this thing is kind of never doubted, because, I mean, it's just a T-34, right? But, hey, these Obersoldaten, very expensive infantry, have no way to deal with it, although the T-34 likely to go down, as there's a Pak 43 just to the side over here that I hadn't noticed. And now the double Panzerfaust is going to destroy the engine of this thing, and once again, another T-34 wasted for really no objective accomplished. What you always want to do whenever you have a sort of high-value unit, which the T-34 can be a high-value unit. I mean, it's no joke to lose 300 manpower and 90 fuel. So, you know, don't want to lose that. Whenever you have a kind of high-value unit, you want to essentially plan out what am I going to do with this thing? Do I really want to move it in to the fight like that, or can I accomplish something better with it? And right now, I'm pretty sure that Kvas did not do that with these 3 T-34s. He just kind of rammed them into the center. And the T-34s really are much more useful when used in a coordinated attack with your allies in the flanking role. So you have the T-34s coming in from the side, confusing the heck out of the enemy, trying to disrupt their formation, and again, just generally causing a lot of havoc. Nicely done, however, with the L2 precision bombing strike, pushing up the conscripts. Of course, with the rapid conscription, he can take those losses. He didn't activate it, but he's going to have it for later. And the Pak 43 getting hit by the precision bombing strike that was spotted for by the conscripts. Right now, however, the ISU-152 is in trouble. This is exactly what I was talking about. Layering your defense, using the ISU-152 as bait, and then having other units around that can support it. Looks like one of the Panthers is taking a massive amount of beating from both the PTRSs and the Su-85. However, the Su-85 gets hit by the recruit Pak 43. Right now, the ISU-152 is going to get surrounded by German units. Very, very well coordinated attack by the Germans. And there goes the ISU. So the Zviera is going to get buoyed. And one of the Panthers goes down in response from this partisan tank hunter. The other Panther is in trouble from all the PTRS fire. But looks like the little button vehicle was actually bugged once again. So yeah, the Germans losing a Panther for an ISU-152. I'd say that that's a pretty decent trade, but they might lose the Obersoldaten squad, so that's a veteran Obersoldaten. Not a good loss at all. They're going to try to move in and throw some bundle grenades at those Guards Riflemen, but the Guards Riflemen are going to easily dodge that volley and probably kill another Obersoldaten squad. So actually, that engagement from being a very, very nice German victory turns into a, I guess, more even stalemate, as the Germans are forced to rebuild a lot of Obersoldaten. They also lose their Volksgrenadiers, and they're just losing all of their veteran infantry, which is a bad, bad, bad thing to happen for you, and especially in these long games. What you want to happen, usually, is that you want to have the infantry superiority in the game, and the best way to have that as the Germans is to keep your units alive and vetted up. However, the Germans are left with control of the field. They still have their Pak 43, although it's pretty heavily damaged. And this Zviera is not going to be back for another few minutes. 185 fuel for Riley. That means that he's going to have to wait about 3 more minutes for the ISU-152. So that leaves the Germans with a little bit more of a free reign over the battlefield, especially with these 2 Panzer IVs. They need to be aggressive at this point and push them with their advantage. Of course, never being reckless, just always push up with minesweepers. Always just kind of send in your infantry ahead first to see if there's any hidden anti-tank guns or anything like that. But you should be moving up with your tanks. You should be using this opportunity that you have created by destroying the ISU-152, which is a very expensive unit, to kind of put the hurt on the enemy. Get in among their resources. Just kind of blow up their fuel caches, blow up their artillery if they have any. Do that. And their Germans are not doing that, and they're allowing the Soviets a little bit of a breathing space to rebuild what they lost. However, nicely done, at least by K-Scott. He's going to go ahead and capture the right-hand side of the map, now establishing a triple cap for the Germans. We have 256 VPs on one side and 272 on the other. However, that still means that the Germans are going to be able to essentially defeat the Allies in, well, about 4.5 minutes if this keeps up. So the Allies have a ticking clock breathing down their necks. And, well, there's a bit of a stalemate. So as you can see, the Guards Riflemen are going to easily deal with one of the Grenadiers. But there's more Grenadiers over here. So this could be potentially dangerous. Here comes a light artillery barrage. Light artillery barrage is not going to do all that much. The Guards advancing through negative cover, just like those Oberstleutnant did earlier, taking a lot of casualties. However, they do manage to absolutely massacre the 2 veteran Grenadier squads. Once again, underestimating the firepower that these Guards Riflemen can put out. Very, very big mistake for the Germans. And there's now a PTRS and a DP that this conscript squad can pick up, thus making it a little bit more like a mini Guards Rifleman. So, not really quite sure why they're not doing it. Grab this. It's useful. Anyway. Ooh, potentially dangerous. Alright. So, let's check out the whole strategic situation. We have the Germans at basically 130 pop cap, whereas the Allies are at 114. So it's relatively similar. But what are these actually? What are these units actually, composed of? So we have 4 conscripts, 4 Kvass, not exactly the most useful late in the game. One of them going down right about now, due to a little bit of a miss micro. He's also got a T-34 76 and another one in essentially on both ends of the map. Once again, can be useful, but not exactly what you'd expect a late-game army to be composed of. Riley has just, beefed himself up quite majorly by getting the second Zvieraboy. He's also got 3 veteran Guards Rifleman squads, 2 anti-tank guns that are right now sitting, doing nothing back here, but they can come in and be a very nice addition to the anti-tank efforts of the Allies. And so overall, the Allies have some decent mobile forces, but especially very, very strong core composed of Guards and the ISU-152 that can put out a lot of damage, but it's vulnerable to flanking. The Germans, instead, having 1 Panther, 2 Panzer IVs, are very, very much more on the mobility side, very much more strong on the mobility side. And their infantry, however, is lacking, as you can see. They've only got a couple of squads. I mean, yeah, sure, this is Oberstleutnant. This is a lot of Oberstleutnant, but it's not like they're doing anything, and it's not like they are vetted up or upgraded or anything. So they're basically just a glorified target for the Allied big units. And right now, the Panzer IVs are feeling the wrath of the Zvieraboy. Of course, the Beast Hunter, the Beast Killer, is doing quite well for itself. Oh, Command Panther is on the field. Yeah, Command Panther is going to be very useful at hunting down the ISU-152. Not just because, I mean, it's a Panther, so it's useful. Ooh, needs to get out of that Pack 43, however. Looks like he's trying to move up, but he does not have enough munitions for a precision bombing strike on the Pack 43. Also taking some light artillery barrage from, of course, the Joint Operations Doctrine on his Guards. Means that he cannot exactly push up. To cover the machine guns working quite well in the advantage of the Germans. T-34 76 moves up to do something about that, but it's basically shut down by the Pack 43 in just a glancing shot. In the meantime, on the right side, Conscript Squad has basically taken all these points over. Not stealing any of these weapons, not recrewing any of these weapons, not taking the DPs. Yeah, you always need to be very careful about what you can pick up on the ground. I mean, the game very, very nicely provides you with this sort of white animation outline for what you can pick up. Pay attention to it. It's white. It's a color meant to stand out from the rest of, like, the brown-gray of Company of Heroes 2. So you really should be paying attention to what you can capture with your units, because it's basically free equipment. Like, oh, look at this. There's a Rakenwerfer over here. What if your ISU-152 is later assaulted by enemy armor on all sides, and you don't have a, if you have a Rakenwerfer, you can put it in behind that ISU and cover its rear and get some damage off that way. If you don't, the enemies might just easily and essentially for free destroy your expensive ISU. Or what if you don't take that machine gun? Well, maybe once you have captured all these points on the right side, of course at some point your conscripts are going to have to go ahead and do something else, so the enemy comes in and freely captures these points for no cost. Whereas if you had a machine gun there, maybe they'd have to spend some munitions on some grenades to clear out the machine gun. Maybe they're going to even just get suppressed and not capture the point at all, and that's going to be more resources, more VPs for you in the long term. So really, there's no reason not to capture those weapons. Come on, capture them. It's only a right click. Anyway, we have a big fight in the center. The Panthers are in a bad spot. Look at this. There's a lot of debris over here limiting their movement. They're not really into the rear of the enemy units. Again, medium tanks made for flanking. Don't want to stand in front of these very potentially dangerous tank destroyers. We have a flank coming in from AT Partisans and conscripts, so even the German infantry sort of not being there is coming up against the German armor, because they don't have any cover. So right now they're in a bad spot. Looks like the T-34-76 was re-destroyed, essentially. And right now, anti-tank grenade goes down on one of the Panzer IVs. The Panzerschreck Partisan might be able to finish him off, but he reloads. He had just finished the reload animation. He decides to reload again, which is weird, and that of course means he dies without getting the shot off, and the Panzer IV survives. So the Allies finally recapturing the left-hand side VP, at least. And well, the center goes to the Germans, so it's a 2 against 1 in terms of VPs, 213 to 195. And it's nice at least to see that there's a lot of combat engineers being built by the Soviets to have these ISUs sort of up and running. Kvass, though, has a lot of munitions, so I'm not quite sure why he hasn't been using that rapid conscription a little bit more, nor why he hasn't been planting any more mines around the map. Mines are always useful. So just having those could just mean the difference between the Panther getting stuck in the road, exposed, and your vehicles being able to just pick it off from the safe range of your infantry, and the Panther getting to, go behind your units without any opposition and destroying your entire, essentially, force. That is the difference. But hey, T-34 on the left-hand side. Not really quite sure why the T-34 spam is continuing at this point for Kvass. What I would have done is gone for at least one Katyusha, just to try to deal with this sort of area, especially that Pak-43. The Katyusha can be fairly useful against that. And, all the machine guns and such and so on and so forth. But, yeah, he has decided to keep going with the T-34 spam, or even if you didn't want to go with any Katyusha or all of that, you could have gone for some Su-85s, help out the ISU-152, and it would definitely provide with more anti-tank capabilities than T-34s. However, none of the sides really, the major mistake that both sides are making is that they're not really paying all that much attention to any position that isn't the front, sort of center area of the map. And that's really causing them to head into engagements that they shouldn't really be doing, because there's a lot of open areas for flanking around this map. There's a lot of open areas for harassment, but they're not really making use of any of those. At least, well, some units could make use of that. I mean, the guards can kind of just come in and use their firepower against the enemy, but what if at some point the Germans have, well, a good, well-placed machine gun? The guards would very, very much like to be not in the front sights of that machine gun, aka in the side. Katyusha on the field for Riley, actually. And it looks like he's finally decided to try to deal with the Pak-43 in some other way, and of course the German infantry spam. T-34s along with some conscripts and partisans, finally going ahead and capturing the left-hand side of the map, whereas the guards are taking the right-hand side of the map, and the center is being taken by some conscripts. So looks like the allies are trying to essentially establish their control over the entire map at once, which might mean they're more vulnerable to a German assault that's concentrated into one sector. That's what Kirby T seems to have in mind, but he's not bringing up his Obersoldaten to support. He's not bringing up his ally to support either with the Panzer IVs. Panzer IVs, of course, getting kind of blocked off by these AT partisans spawned into this building, this cottage. And right now, it seems like the T-34-76, one of them going down and being abandoned. What the heck is it with T-34-76s being abandoned this game? I have no idea. Anyway, T-34-76, the other one, finally gets behind the Panther, and along with the support of these AT partisans, might be able to destroy this thing. IC-152, however, is not really supporting, which is a damn fine shame for the Allies, as they missed the opportunity of destroying this Command Panther. The conscripts are trying their damn best, though. They might actually be able to get one last reload, and no, he gets sniped by the Pinto Mountain machine gun, and his comrade indeed goes down in the same fate. So, except for the right-hand side, it seems, although a nicely placed incendiary grenade would definitely flush these guys out of that tank wreckage. It looks like, basically, outside of the right-hand side, the Allied assault failed completely. Yeah. Once again, the need for concentration is important. If your troops get sort of picked off piecemeal, there's no point. And the Katyusha also fired its first barrage, and looks like it missed completely somehow. There's still a lot of weapons, however, just kind of scattered about that the players can pick up that they're not doing. And there's a very strange. Finally, he's picked up the DP and the PTRS. So well done, at least for Riley. There's a strange tendency for both of these players, both of these sides rather, to kind of blob cap. As you can see, they're using their. This is okay. What I'm doing is I'm like right-click dragging, so to like position a unit facing in some way. With this, what this guy has done is that he just clicks into the VP, maybe dragged. And as you can see, the line formation that the troops have taken is respective of that. Instead of positioning units individually and seeing where they can take cover, you know, where they can have some extra heavy cover, where they can spread out a little bit more and avoid getting destroyed by artillery, where they can even spread out and cap 2 points at once. Panzer IVs, however, massive mistake. Oh my god, you cannot see right now my face, but I'm really face palming. He decides to charge into the front, and finally this line of 76mm anti-tank guns is able to just completely obliterate the Panzer IVs that are attacking. Looks like they tried to deal with the IC-152, but oh my god. Oh no. This is what I'm saying, by the way. Like, what would have been so difficult for K. Scott to just kind of move, instead of literally to the front of any waiting enemy units in this area, what would it have taken him to take, oh god, sorry, that was the Windows button, to take this route around and trying to get into this area, you know, from the other entrance of the square? What would it have cost him? Nothing, absolutely nothing. But he decided to attack from the front. I'm not sure why these players make these mistakes. It's like, okay, I get the heat in the moment or whatever, you've been microing for 40 minutes, but, like, it's basic, literally the most basic tactic you can have. Don't go where the enemy has their weapons trained on you. Don't go where the enemy expects you to go. Never do what they expect. It's like the most basic tenets of strategy, you know? But it's not like it's all that difficult to follow them. Like, you could have just gone in from the side, man. What the fuck? Anyway. T-34-76. Once again, more T-34-76s for Kvass. I mean, hate to break it to you, but what I would do right now is, I would think, well, has this worked for me so far? Spamming T-34s? No, it didn't. I mean, I think it's pretty clear at this point. So perhaps I should try something else. I mean, I know that the enemy is going with a lot of Obersoldaten. I know that they have a Pak 43. Why not get a Katyusha? Why not get a Katyusha? Or even if I'm going with some T-34-76s, perhaps if I'm afraid of this Stuka, Sufus, why not? Ooh, nice flare, by the way. Nice flare by Kirby T. Or if I'm afraid of the Stuka and I want something to deal with it, like the T-34, I need to be a lot more careful as to how I use it. Perhaps instead of sending it in on its own, you know, from the front and all of that, basically what I've already said over there, I'm gonna wait until I have enough resources to build a few more, which Kvas does have, and send it in from the flank with a couple of buddies. Looks like the flank part is gonna be executed, and he's gonna come in and deal with these Volksraniers. That's pretty good. One of the good things that the T-34 can do. Oh god, what is this Stuka placement? Oh god. You do not know what is out here. There's a wall where there could literally be just, I don't know, there could be anything over here. So yeah, perhaps the Stuka should have been pulled back like over here. This is definitely a little bit scary. Okay, so what happened to all the guards that are still around? Looks like the IC-152 is taking a massive beating, probably from the Pak-43. Oh no, what are these Panthers doing? Looks like they're chasing down the T-34. T-34, which is going to destroy a Veteran C5 Volksranier. So even if this T-34 dies, I would say that that was a worth it trade to kill a Veteran C5 Volksranier squad at 47 minutes, because it's not like you're going to be able to get another Vet 5 squad in you know, at this kind of a stage in the game. T-34 tries to ram the Panther, but it's not gonna reach the target in time, and the Panther might be able to escape, but the button vehicle might slow it down just long enough. Yeah, look at that. Once again, the button vehicle just not working for some reason, and ending instantly after it is essentially placed on the enemy vehicle, and the Blitz, the Blitz allows the Panther to get out quite quickly. I'm not sure what it is up with this button vehicle bug. Like, it just cancels itself very, very easily. I'm not sure. And wow, the guards, okay, getting a few kills on those Obersoldaten, but the Obersoldaten at close range are going to be able to just destroy the guards. One of the guard squads actually already went down and dropped a PTRS. Another one drops another PTRS, but manages to escape. However, the same sort of reasoning holds up for the guards as it does for the Volksgrenadiers. At 45-50 minutes of the game, you're gonna have a hard time vetting these things up. So losing that veteran-free squad is definitely a bad thing. Big blow to the Allied chances of winning. Once again, you know that the Pak-43 is there. Don't move your T-34s where you know that there's a Pak-43. Don't do that, but don't do that, man. Oh god. So the Pak-43 once again claiming another victim. For some reason this thing is still around. Like, honestly, at some point the Allies should concentrate some artillery fire onto this thing. In fact, Kvas should probably save up some manpower and get himself... Ooh, there's a T-34 you can repair. He should probably save up some manpower and get himself a ML-20 howitzer. Because that's basically the perfect counter to the Pak-43. It's very, very good against big, unmoving, static, of course, targets, relatively soft targets, especially these very, very exposed Pak-43s are an easy target. It can also be used to bombard the enemy base area, just to try to catch some infantry that might be replenishing back at base, to try to deal with some of these Schwerpanzer headquarters and the Wehrmacht buildings. And basically on a small map like this, if you build it anywhere, it's gonna have enough of a reach to shoot at the entirety of the map. And unfortunately, the T-34 is gonna get recruited at basically the worst possible moment, when the Panzer IV decides that, oh wait, I'm gonna move into this area, and finds, hey, easy target. So it's probably gonna be able to destroy that T-34-76. Easy shot, easy kill. The Zviera is on the right-hand side, and the rest of the Germans are on the left-hand side. So this is pretty bad for the Allies, because of course they can't really use their strong tank destroyer to deal with the enemy vehicles. And once again, the T-34 moving into the danger zone, highway to the danger zone for hit, and the Pak-43 is just slightly outside of the range. Nicely using these artillery flares, by the way, by Kirby T, who, however, has 1,500 manpower floating. Needs to be a little bit more proactive with his infantry, although finally moves up his Obersoldat and gets a kill on one of those anti-tank guns. And yeah, he needs to use his Obersoldat a lot more in helping out his Panthers. The Panthers are strong against enemy armor. They're very mobile, but their weakness is when they get swarmed by infantry. They don't have enough anti-infantry firepower to deal with approaching enemy units. They are very vulnerable whenever they're slow, and anti-tank grenades are, of course, the perfect way to do that. So the Panthers and the Obersoldat are basically the combination that's meant to be with each other. Bit of a match made in the Reich, but he's not doing that. He's not putting them together. He's not supporting his Panther pushes with the Obersoldaten push, which is a bit of a mistake in my opinion. In fact, it's a bit of a huge mistake. Nice flank, however, from these guards. Could be the start of something. Now, the Panther looks like they're trying to chase down the Katyusha or get at something. And that's gonna, you know, the fuel cache is gonna allow the Zvieraboy to know what is happening. Is it switching to armor piercing? It did, and now it's gonna be able to pop some rounds to this Panther. But there's no support over here for the Zvieraboy because the guards are moving in and trying to destroy the German sort of central defenses. There's no T-34 76s over here to help out because, well, they're all dead. And the Panthers do manage to get the coordinated fire off on the Zvieraboy, which does increase the damage to 2 times the normal output, which is of course going to be a very nasty result for that ISU-152. The Panthers destroying that thing quite easily even from the front because of the concentrated fire. And it looks like the guards also going down in their center push, one of them to the fire of these grenadiers, and the other one, the unvetted squad, also taking a lot of damage on the retreat, probably gonna escape, but still that's a big loss for the Allies. However, new ISU-152 instantly replaced by Riley, who had enough resources, so it's not that big of a loss for the Allies. They need to find some way to capture the central VP and defend the right side VP, because they're getting the left-hand side, which is good, great, amazing. If they can use these sandbags for cover. However, yeah, these sandbags, I mean, if you can get yourself over here, you're still going to be able to cap. And unfortunately, the pinning comes through, and that's going to mean that the point is at least just neutralized. However, if you can cap these points, the Germans are down to 86. The Allies, of course, are at 46. So even worse for them. It's basically down to the wire, and both sides need to kind of rally up and get themselves some points. Nice Katyusha barrage on the Obersoldaten that were capturing this right side. However, it's not going to be enough. They need to follow this up with actual units. And T-34 doing what it does best and destroys the bunker. However, there's nothing to follow up. For some reason, the MG was retreated. The MG could have stolen the point from the Germans into the Allied hands. So this is definitely a mistake. And once again, big mistake by Riley, pushing up his ISU-152 without any support. And what is it doing? Okay, it's gonna plow away at those Obersoldaten. But now, oh, looks like the attention of the Germans has been diverted onto the left-hand side. The Panthers are angry at the T-34 for destroying the bunker. This is definitely a misuse of resources by the German side, however, as we do have an attempt at capturing the VP in the center by the MG that unfortunately is not quite close enough to get into the cap circle. The right-hand side, with the ISU-152 that's now supported by anti-tank guns, is likely going to be relatively safe, especially because these combat engineers probably can steal the machine gun. Steal the machine gun! This is going to slow the enemy down a lot. You saw what happened on the left-hand side. That just bunker just slowed down the Allies long enough for the VPs to be trickled down to 14. Nice usage, however, of the smoke from this mortar is going to allow the Maxim to capture the center. So this is well done by Kvass. And where are the German resources? Well, there's a lot of Obersoldaten back at base just doing nothing. There's this MG back at base doing nothing. Finally, these Grenadiers are moving up, but it's not enough. Nicely dodging that Stuka barrage with the guards. However, yeah, the Maxim in the center is now going to be able to pull back and defend the central VP. The left-hand side has been recaptured by these engineers, but these tanks are doing nothing. And the Germans, with 81 points, are being led by 2 allied VPs as opposed to their 1. So finally, the Panthers, trying to do something, are going to charge into the center. There's only 2 T-34 76s in the way of anti-tank defenses, and what's really going to hurt over here are these 2 Panzer IVs that can deal with the Allied infantry in the area. So what the Allies need to do in some way is rush in anti-infantry units Katyusha is going to try to make a massive, massive barrage onto a very, very, very clumped up blob of German forces. It's going to deal a lot of damage and allow these guards to absolutely massacre the remaining. So clean up squad guards, definitely doing well. And in the left-hand side, we have the conscripts massacring the pioneers who were capturing over there. Now, there's an S-minefield that they're capping the point on, but still, these Panthers, once again, not really that effective against enemy infantry. They're not going to be able to destroy all these conscripts in time for to prevent, you know, the cap from happening. So right now, triple cap is available to the allies. 61 VPs. Established the triple cap means that 1 minute and the Germans are basically going to lose the game. Now they need to find some kind of solution. They have one Stern Pioneer moving on to the left-hand side to capture this now undefended VP from, you know, the time that the conscripts died. Looks like the Pak-43 finally being destroyed, probably by a precision bombing strike, maybe by the guards. And the guards moving up and destroying both the MG-42 and the reinforcement bunker is going to mean a total Allied domination over the sort of central area of the map. So this is, of course, quite good because they have 2 VPs basically secure. They have a Maxim finally, looks like a new Maxim was built by Kvass, which is, I guess, accomplishing the same goal in the end. On the right side, defending that, preventing the Germans from capturing it. The center, I don't see any way that the Germans are going to capture this unless this massive blob can deal with both the guards, the vehicles, and in perspective, the Katyusha barrage that's about to come. Vet 2 Katyusha is going to reload quicker, and so this is potentially pretty dangerous for all these guys. Let's see if this anti-tank gun can help deal with these Panzer IVs. Left-hand side, we have conscripts and partisans moving up to capture, at least prevent the capture of the VP. Katyusha barrage in the center prevents the capture of the VP. And now 2 against 0 means that 4 seconds, or rather 12 seconds, now 6 seconds and 3 seconds, and it's GG right now. 12 points to 0. So the Allies using their soft assets, their infantry, a lot better in the last few minutes of the game. And also the Allies just kind of coordinating their armor better with their infantry, despite the fact that they were reckless with both of those in both of those aspects. They still managed to at least get their units sort of balled up together and supporting each other most of the time. Whereas the Germans, the entirety of the game, had their armor on a separate, essentially, control group from their infantry, doing entirely separate things at the same time. So in the end, what that means is that whenever there's an engagement, despite the fact that the Germans should win, they always have something that does not quite work the way it should. Perhaps if they have all their tanks and maybe they lose a tank or two, but they kill more enemy units. However, they don't have the infantry there to follow up, clean up the last remaining enemy units and take the territory and capture it. Whereas the Allies, if they would win the same engagement, maybe even by a smaller margin, maybe even if the trade wasn't in their favor, then they have the units there. They can cap the VPs, they can cap the resource points, and then get machine guns behind and protect that area. So the Allies were better at using sort of the points that are advantage. Like, the Germans just kind of came in, sometimes capped, then left and tried to fight. They only had the fighting in mind, whereas the Allies had a little bit of a better picture of what was going on with the capping. Also, very well done at the end, getting that Katyusha, which was a long time coming. With the Germans, well, the Stuka didn't really have the same kind of impact as the Katyusha did. And that's partially because they have different roles, and to be completely honest, the only thing that the Stuka could have done in terms of like useful contributions to this game would have been to destroy those anti-tank guns, which it didn't accomplish. Parts that the Germans did well, of course, was that Pak-43 being quite the number, and the usage of the doctrines. Like the flares doing quite well, the coordinated fire from the command panther doing quite well, usage of the infrared SDGs, and the grenade assaults. However, it just wasn't enough at the end. Like, Riley didn't have really enough munitions to use the L2 precision bombing strike that often, but when he did, he eventually managed to destroy that Pak-43. The IC-152, of course, playing a pretty good part, but Still not quite to the same degree as what the Germans did. Even Kvass just... Unfortunately, he didn't use the rapid conscription enough. What I like to do with the rapid conscription is I like to have a few combat squads around the map that can sort of pressure the enemy and fight. They're usually the ones that get the upgrades and they're vetted up. So I conserve those squads, but whenever I get into a fight with them, I pop the rapid conscription so that when they come back onto, the number of these squads will be indicative, like normally 4 or 5, so that when they come back to the base, rather than having to reinforce them with my manpower and thus bleed myself, I can reinforce them with the conscripts I get from the rapid conscription with the merge, essentially turning munitions into reinforcement. And what that does is that it allows me to have more manpower to build up a gun howitzer or two, and then more manpower to, of course, use my tier 4 to get advantage, because that's the whole point of reserve army. Also, of course, a little bit more manpower to spawn some partisans. Now, in the end, it didn't really matter all that much. Kvass was still able to put up a lot of pressure with those AT partisans. That was, I think, the best thing he did. He just had those around all the time. The problem was that he didn't use his T-34s in the correct manner, in my opinion. He should have waited more with them rather than sending them in head first. Should have massed them. Should have used them more to flank. Although he did do a couple of nice things with them, just as, or rather, such as helping out in dealing with the flanks and sort of destroy random lone enemy units that we're capturing, destroying that bunker on the left-hand side. All those things were good, but to use them in a sort of big fight in the decisive battle, you need to have them... wait, is this T-34 floating in the air? It is. Why? Anyway, to have them be of any use in the sort of big fight in the late game, these things are very, very, very fragile, and they don't have the best firepower. So what you want to do is to, well, have them come in from a direction the enemy does not expect, where they can use their relatively quick reload time to pump out a lot of damage per second, even if, their actual damage of their shells isn't that big. You're going to have a lot of T-34s firing quickly into basically an enemy that's very close to you, into the rear of the enemy. So you're going to be hitting, you're going to be penetrating, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage as a result. But that's just my opinion. I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you soon. And as always, have a nice day.